Filip Hrgovic versus David Adeleye was a classical heavyweight war. And we don't get too many of that nowadays, where you have Hrgovic getting cut and then surviving it for the rest of 8 rounds. Then you have David Adeleye getting dropped, survive the next 2 rounds, where you have guys that kind of just throw out the technique and go to war, that lives true to a combat sport, that lives true to the violence that was displayed that night. Now, you have Filip Hrgovic coming out victorious, obviously, but just how he won wasn't necessarily in dominant fashion, but it was like gladiators. Back then, they're just battering each other. There's no defense. It's just swinging in arms. He has this style where his hands are dropped at his hips. He's pushing you with his shoulder. He's just throwing from the hips, landing with extreme power, all of the weight behind his punches. Then you have David Adeleye, who he threw up his hands every once in a while. he learned about the high guard, but he was swinging with velocity, ferociousness, just swinging it out there. And sometimes landing, sometimes not. It was kind of just a Hail Mary each and every punch. But this was the exciting heavyweight brawls that we used to get on a monthly basis. That kind of dried up the sport. But I guess shouts out to Turkey, shouts out to Riyadh season for bringing back all of these fights that we didn't really get to see. Now, speaking of these two fighters, what happens next? Because now, Hrgovic, he lost to Daniel Dubois. David Adeleye only has one loss, and nobody's going to knock him out for the war that he just had with Hrgovic. That was nothing but excitement, nothing but heart shown. He survived the knockdown, stuck his tongue out, and then started rocking Hrgovic right after. So there's nothing to knock these fighters down about. And their next fights are even going to be more exciting, more hype behind it, because everyone just saw the warriors that they are. So I can see Hrgovic not going for a title, despite him only having one loss, and that one loss being against a world champion. I don't think he's going for a title shot when you have Joseph Parker, Ajit Caballel, Moses Atama entering the picture. With guys like that, I don't think Hrgovic is going to step in front of them or even defeat them in war, simply because Hrgovic's style is like a hands down, he's just like a giant heavyweight. You know, those Martin Bakolis, the Zheli Zhangs, there's the Russian monster, just these big, large guys that kind of just uses their size to weigh you down and endure the shots, because there's no defense that they use, there's no footwork that they implement. It's just their pure size, physicality. And if you throw that in the ring against a Ajit Caballel, who's used to a giant in Zheli Zhang that dealt with the giant in the Russian Mike Tyson, if you just throw him in the ring against a Joseph Parker, they're going to run circles around these guys, and they're not going to be able to get caught. They're going to use head movement, footwork, work on the range distancing, because they're a lot better at it than Hrgovic could do or wants to do. But I could see him against like Martin Bakoli's looking for a fight. Putting those two giants up against each other, pure entertainment. You got Jared Anderson, he's looking to make his name back. Throw him against a Hrgovic to build him back in that title shot range, that whole spear of things. You got David, who could be thrown against Ajagba. You got a lot of good fights that could happen. But I mainly just wanted to talk about the excitement between Hrgovic and Adeleye, where they're fighting in that classical manner. Just whichever man falls first, last man standing kind of war. Two men thrown in a cage. That's what we really need in this, to bring back the heavyweight division. So glad to speak on it, glad to see it, and glad to see what's next.